My parents secretly changed their will, leaving their entire estate to my unemployed younger brother who still lives at home. I've been supporting them for years and paying for Dad's medical bills. I, 34F, am still in shock and don't know where to turn. I just found out that my parents, 65M, 63F, have changed their will to leave everything to my younger brother Jake, 28M, effectively cutting me out completely. I'm devastated and feel utterly betrayed. I'm the oldest of 2 children. Growing up, our family was solidly middle class. My parents both worked hard, Dad as a high school teacher and Mom as a nurse. They always emphasized the importance of education and hard work, telling us that success comes to those who earn it. I took their lessons to heart. I studied hard in school, got scholarships, and put myself through college and then law school. It wasn't easy. I worked part-time jobs, took out loans, and lived on ramen noodles more often than I'd like to admit. But I made it through and landed a job at a respected law firm in our city. My brother Jake. Well, he took a different path. He was always the baby of the family, and my parents doted on him. He struggled in school and barely graduated high school. He attempted community college but dropped out after a semester, saying it wasn't for him. Since then, he's bounced between various part-time jobs, never holding one for more than a few months. He still lives at home with our parents, rent-free, and spends most of his time playing video games or hanging out with his friends. Despite our different paths, I've always tried to maintain a good relationship with my family. I visit regularly, help out around the house, and have been there for every family emergency. When Dad was diagnosed with heart disease 5 years ago, I stepped up. I started paying for his medical bills, which weren't fully covered by insurance. I also contribute to their household expenses, knowing that Jake isn't bringing in much income. All of this has been a significant financial burden on me. I'm not complaining, they're my parents, and I want to help. But between this, my own living expenses, and my lingering student loans, I haven't been able to save much for my own future. I've put off buying a house and starting a family because I simply can't afford it right now. I always assumed that one day, when my parents passed, I would inherit their house. It's not a mansion or anything, but it's a nice 3-bedroom home in a good neighborhood, worth about $400,000. I thought I could sell it, use some of the money to finally buy my own place, and put the rest towards retirement or maybe starting a college fund for my future kids. It felt like a fair trade-off for all the support I've given over the years. Well, yesterday I found out how wrong I was. Mom called me, asking me to come over for dinner. She said they had something important to discuss. When I arrived, I found both my parents and Jake sitting at the dining room table, looking serious. Dad cleared his throat and said, "Sweetheart, your mother and I have made some changes to our will, and we wanted to let you know." I nodded, not thinking much of it. Maybe they were leaving some money to a charity or something. Then Mom dropped the bomb, "We've decided to leave the house and all our assets to Jake." I sat there, stunned. What? Why? Dad explained, "Well, you're doing so well for yourself. You have a great career, you're successful. Jake. He needs more help. We want to make sure he's taken care of after we're gone." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But what about all the support I've given you? The medical bills, the help around the house? Mom had the audacity to say, "Oh honey, that's what family does for each other. We didn't expect anything in return for that." I looked at Jake, who was smirking slightly. He shrugged and said, "Don't be so greedy, sis. It's not like you need the money." I felt like I was in some kind of twisted nightmare. I managed to keep my composure, but I excused myself shortly after and drove home in a daze. Now, I'm sitting here, trying to process all of this. I feel betrayed, used, and frankly, stupid for having supported them all these years. I've sacrificed so much, my time, my money, my own dreams, and this is how they repay me? I'm seriously considering talking to a lawyer about contesting the will when the time comes. I know it sounds awful, they're not even dead yet, and I'm already thinking about fighting over their assets. But I can't help feeling that this is deeply unfair. Am I the asshole for feeling this way? For considering legal action against my own family? I never thought I'd be in this position, and I'm struggling to know what the right thing to do is. Edit 1. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up like this. Thank you all for your comments and support. I want to address a few common questions/comments. 1. Yes, I've spoken to my parents about this since the initial conversation. They're standing firm on their decision. They say they trust me to do the right thing and take care of Jake if he needs it after they're gone. It feels like they're putting all the responsibility on me without any of the resources to do so. 2. To those asking why I didn't set boundaries earlier, you're right, I should have. It's easy to see that now, but at the time, it just felt like I was doing what a good daughter should do. I never expected it to end up like this. 3. Some have suggested that Jake might have manipulated our parents into this decision. It's possible, but I don't want to jump to conclusions without evidence. He's always been their favorite, so this might just be an extension of that. 4. For those wondering about other assets, as far as I know, there isn't much beyond the house. They have some savings, but not a huge amount. Dad's medical bills have eaten into a lot of their retirement funds. 5. To clarify, I'm not after the money itself. It's more the principle of the thing. I feel like my years of support and sacrifice are being completely disregarded. Edit 2. Things have escalated. I tried to have another conversation with my parents this morning, and it didn't go well. I'll post an update soon. Edit 3. As promised, here's an update on the situation. Brace yourselves, because it gets worse. This morning, I decided to try talking to my parents again. I thought maybe if I explained my feelings calmly, they might understand where I'm coming from. I was wrong. I went over to their house early, hoping to catch them before Jake woke up. He usually sleeps until noon. Mom and Dad were having coffee in the kitchen when I arrived. I sat down with them and tried to express how hurt and betrayed I felt by their decision. I explained how much I've sacrificed over the years, both financially and in terms of my own life plans. I told them I felt like they were taking me for granted while rewarding Jake's lack of responsibility. Mom started tearing up, but not for the reason I hoped. She said, "I can't believe how selfish you're being. After everything we've done for you." I was floored. Everything you've done for me? What about everything I've done for you? Dad jumped in, his voice raised. "We raised you, put a roof over your head, fed you. We supported your education. And now you're successful because of us. You owe us everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I worked hard for my success. I got scholarships, I took out loans. Yes, you supported me, and I'm grateful, but that doesn't negate everything I've done as an adult. The argument escalated from there. They accused me of being ungrateful, of only caring about money. Dad even said, "If you were a true daughter, you wouldn't care about the inheritance at all. You'd just want us to be happy with our decision." At this point, Jake came downstairs, probably attracted by the shouting. He looked at the scene, Mom crying, Dad red-faced, me on the verge of tears, and had the gall to say, "See? This is why they're leaving everything to me. I don't cause drama." I lost it. I told Jake he was a leech, that he'd never worked for anything in his life. I told my parents they were enabling his laziness and punishing me for my success. It ended with Dad shouting at me to get out of the house. As I was leaving, I heard Mom say, "Maybe we should call our lawyer and make sure she can't contest the will." I'm back home now, feeling numb. I can't believe how quickly everything has fallen apart. My relationship with my family feels irreparably damaged, and for what? Because I dared to question their decision? I've decided to take a step back for now. I'm going to cease all financial support immediately. No more paying Dad's medical bills, no more contributing to household expenses. It feels cruel, but I can't keep setting myself on fire to keep them warm, especially when they clearly don't appreciate it. I'm also going to seek therapy to help process all of this. And yes, I'm still considering legal options. Not just about the will, but also about possibly recouping some of the money I've spent supporting them over the years. To those who said I should have set boundaries years ago, you were right. I see that clearly now. I just hope it's not too late to start. Thank you all for your support and advice. It means more than you know to have people validate my feelings when my own family won't. I'll update again if there are any significant developments. Edit 4, Final Update. It's been a few weeks since my last update, and a lot has happened. Buckle up, because this is a wild ride. First, the good news, I've started therapy, and it's been incredibly helpful. My therapist has helped me see how dysfunctional my family dynamics have been for years, and how I've been enabling a lot of bad behavior. It's painful to confront, but also liberating. Now, for the rest of it. 1. After I cut off financial support, my parents started calling and texting nonstop. At first, it was angry messages about how I was abandoning them. Then it shifted to guilt tripping, saying they'd have to sell the house to cover Dad's medical bills. I stayed firm and didn't respond. 2. About a week after our big fight, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Jake's ex-girlfriend, Sarah. We were never close, but she felt she needed to tell me something important. Apparently, Jake had bragged to her months ago about convincing our parents to change their will. He told her he had planted doubts in their minds about my character, suggesting that I was only helping them to secure my inheritance. He painted himself as the loving son who would always be there for them. Sarah felt guilty for not telling me sooner, but she and Jake had only recently broken up. Surprise, surprise, he cheated on her, and she wanted me to know the truth. 3. Armed with this information, I hired a lawyer. We're looking into whether there's a case for undue influence in the changing of the will. It's not a sure thing, but it's a start. 4. I also reached out to my Aunt Linda, Mom's sister. She was shocked when I told her everything. Apparently, my parents had been telling the rest of the family that I had distanced myself from them and rarely helped out. Aunt Linda has now promised to talk to them and set the record straight with the rest of the family. 5. The biggest bombshell came yesterday. Dad had a minor heart scare, he's okay, and was taken to the hospital. I found out because Jake actually called me, panicking because he didn't know what to do or how to handle the paperwork. I went to the hospital, more for Dad's sake than Jake's. While I was there, a nurse recognized me. She pulled me aside and told me something disturbing. Apparently, Jake has been taking Dad's pain medication. She'd noticed discrepancies in the medication log and had seen Jake acting suspiciously around Dad's meds during previous hospital stays. I was stunned. Was Jake stealing Dad's meds to use? To sell? Either way, it was clear he was taking advantage of the situation. 6. I reported this information to Dad's doctor and the hospital administration. They're investigating, and I've given them my lawyer's contact information. 7. I also confronted Jake about this in the hospital parking lot. He broke down and admitted to everything, the manipulation, the lies, even the medication theft. He begged me not to tell our parents, saying they'd literally die from the disappointment. Part of me wanted to march right back into the hospital and expose him. But I realized that the shock might genuinely be dangerous for Dad in his current condition. So, I made a deal with Jake. He comes clean to our parents himself within the next week, or I'll do it for him. 8. I haven't told my parents about any of this yet. Dad's still in the hospital, and I want to make sure he's stable before dropping this bomb. But I've told them I have important information to discuss once he's home. So, that's where things stand now. My lawyer advises me to wait and see how things play out when Jake confesses, or doesn't, before deciding our next move. Aunt Linda is rallying the family to support me. And I'm continuing therapy to help me navigate this mess. I feel vindicated, but also incredibly sad. The family I thought I had doesn't exist, and probably never did. I'm angry at Jake, disappointed in my parents, and upset with myself for not seeing the truth sooner. I don't know what the future holds. Will my parents see the truth and make things right? Will I have to take legal action? Can any of these relationships be salvaged, and do I even want to try? For now, I'm focusing on my own healing and letting the situation unfold. Thank you all for your support throughout this ordeal. If there are any more major developments, I'll be sure to update. It's been a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. Here's the short version. 1. Jake confessed to our parents about his manipulation and the medication theft. Dad was hospitalized again due to the shock, but he's recovering now. 2. My parents were devastated. They've revoked their changes to the will, splitting everything 50-50 between Jake and me. They've also insisted Jake move out and get professional help. 3. Jake is now in rehab for his drug problem. It turns out he'd been struggling with addiction for years, which partially explained his inability to hold down a job. 4. I've maintained my distance but agreed to family therapy sessions. It's slow progress, but we're working on rebuilding trust. 5. Aunt Linda has been an incredible support, helping my parents understand the extent of their enabling behavior. 6. I'm continuing individual therapy and focusing on my own healing. I've realized I need to build a life that doesn't revolve around my family's drama. 7. Surprisingly, many extended family members reached out with support after learning the truth. It's been validating to have my side of the story heard. The road ahead is long, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Thank you all for your support throughout this ordeal. Your advice and encouragement have been invaluable.